Hey, it's Tasha, and welcome to Season 2 of Greatfully You. It's a new season, a new rhythm, but most importantly, the same heart. Now, if you're new here, Greatfully You is a space where we celebrate all that makes you you. And a little bit about me is that I'm a mom, a wife, a businesswoman, a spiritual explorer, you name it. I wear the hat probably. And this podcast is where I share all the ups and downs and the in-betweens of life. So whether it's family, work, or the deeper soul stuff, this space is all about embracing our truth, facing our fears, and finding the little joys in life. But most importantly, it's for those of us who are becoming. Not perfectly, but honestly. And I know that may sound strange. What does becoming mean exactly? Well, that word has been heavy on my heart probably for the last 6 months. And I have to share that with you because it's going to show up a lot this season. And no, it doesn't mean achieving, fixing, or performing. But to me, becoming is a sacred unfolding of who you truly are beneath all the noise. It's that refining, the remembering, and the releasing of all that doesn't serve you. It's the quiet evolution that often happens in the shadows, the things that we don't always want to look at. But when you choose rest over rush, our truth over performance, and really alignment over approval, that's becoming. It's not a destination, it's a rhythm. It's a return to self, a deep soul level of remembering. And see, that remembering, it started here for me with a simple act of leaning in and trusting the process. See, a year ago today, I hit record for Greatfully You for the very first time. And boy, oh boy, was it comical. The struggle was real, and I shared it in season 1, how hard it was for me to just put it out there. I was, oh man, it took a long time. I've been sitting with this podcast idea for several years, right? And to be fair, every release of that episode, if you guys were in my office seeing my process, you would laugh at me. Just because I was so scary for whatever reason. But even in that fear of stepping into purpose, I leaned in, not knowing exactly where the journey would lead me, but knowing deep down that I had to begin. My soul wouldn't let me not do it. I didn't have it all figured out, and to be fair, I still don't. Last season, I didn't even realize I was ending at the grief episode. And we'll get into that in the next episode a little bit more deeply. But even that process was comical, and also confusing. I'm like, okay, God, what are we doing? I thought you wanted me to move forward, but yeah, you'll see. But when I think about Greatfully You in its entirety, I knew I wanted to create something real, not something perfectly packaged and not always polished, but just real. And to be frank, I struggled with that last season. To know me is to know that I love things to look good, to sound good. And there were so many times where I was like, ooh, I should go back and re-record episode 1, 2, 3, because the sound was off. And Spirit was like, no, girl, absolutely not. We need people to see your evolution. We want to see that growth and to help others understand that if you start, the plan will continue to grow with you. And there's nothing to be ashamed of, but we need to see that imperfection to know that it's the reality, or we need to see the imperfection to see that it's possible. So I take you on the journey with me. And this space is where we could be honest, right? Unfiltered. I've been curious and really to connect with you on a deep soul level where we share stories in all of their complexities, and really honor those levels, those stories in our lives that we've probably tried to hide. But here we are, exactly 1 year later, several episodes, and a whole lot of growth later. That's exactly what we did. And we're still evolving, still healing, but most importantly, still becoming. And so when I look back at season 1, we talked about a lot of the hard things: grief, transitions, mom life, past traumas, the things that don't always get aired publicly. But Spirit said, I need you to show up authentically and share your heart and your experiences so that others can heal and see that it's possible to work through this. But not only did we look at those hard things, we also found our way back to joy. We reclaimed our abundance in ways that had nothing to do with what the world would say abundance is. It was the exact opposite of hustle culture. We practiced presence, perspective shifts, and gave ourselves permission to live with more grace and intention. And it wasn't about fixing everything, because a lot of that journey, I was still evolving, figuring out what steps next. And in my sharing in my story, I hope that you were connected with it to be able to see how you are ever evolving. It was about being real and about being real together. And this is the part that blew my mind. That together part, that was the most powerful aspect that I just didn't fully wrap my head around. I am still in awe that this podcast that was developed a year ago has been heard in over 11 countries and over 126 cities. What? I was like, oh man, all these people know these inner dark stories. Oh my God. And then that would sometimes cause me to shrink a little bit, and Spirit would work through me and say, hey, I need you to show up. We need to share more of this. And beyond the numbers of the cities and reach that it's had, what moved me the most were those who reached out to me and shared their messages about how these episodes landed at just the right time. Even through my journey of not wanting to put stuff out and being scared of how it'd be received and all that stuff, it still landed at just the right time. How powerful that was to experience personally, to know that even with my resistance, it still showed up on time. So I say that to you, even though you may feel like you aren't showing up the way that you should be or on a specific timeline, when you do show up, it's divinely orchestrated. And so going back to all those messages that I've received, the best thing that felt so serene to me was that I realized that even though we're in separate corners of the world, we're not alone. Season 1 reminded me we don't need to be whole to be worthy. We don't need to have it all figured out to share what's true. And sometimes just saying it out loud is the most beautiful, powerful beginning. But now, as we step into season 2, the rhythm shifts just a smidget, but the heart stays the same. This podcast began with that whisper of the importance of celebrating all that makes you you. And this season dives even deeper into that by honoring the whisper of slowing down and listening even closer. Season 2 is for the soul who's been cracked open by life. And I know a lot of us are being cracked open, looking at what's happening in the collective world with political disease, frustration, and all the heavy energies that we feel when we leave our home or even at home. But this season, we're calling in to dig a little deeper. We're learning to trust when to go in to be quiet again. It's for the ones who know there's more. There's more truth, more depth, and more presence. Not more to do, but more to become. Of course, we're going to talk about healing, but even more about remembering who you were before all this striving even happened. Who you were when you're not managing everyone else's expectations of you, whether it's collectively with society, the politics, with our families, with our friends. It's really leaning in on who you are beyond that. We'll be exploring rest as a sacred assignment. We'll dive into the refining fire where transformation feels like loss, but leads into liberation. And my all-time favorite is spiritual sovereignty, going into the quiet space for deeper truth and deeper presence. We're going to talk about learning how to trust the divine within, even when it looks different than what you were taught. You'll hear moments of silence, stories of the soul, affirmations, and my friends that come in to share their journey with you, and probably much more that meets you where it's real and raw in the middle. See, the key here is to realize I'm learning my own pattern with Greatfully You and how God is really guiding me. There isn't a strict plan for this season. I have an idea, which is great, right? But I'm learning that idea may shift, and that's the beauty of it. I'm really letting intuition lead, letting God, source, spirit guide the timing, the topics, and the truth that needs to be spoken. Because becoming isn't always picture perfect or neat. It's sometimes messy, sometimes it's quote unquote lonely. But to be fair, it's cyclical. It's sacred. Sometimes it's silent, but always worthy of honoring. And this season, we're honoring all of it. Honorating? I think I made that word. This season, we're honoring all of it. And speaking of honor, I have to take a moment to just share this with you guys. I don't know if I told you guys this last year, but when I launched Greatfully You, it was on my birthday. I was stepping into in the creation of Greatfully You as an honor for on my birthday, a becoming, and that becoming is still happening, right? And we're 1 year later, 1 year deeper into this journey of becoming, and it's not the kind of pushing through to make things happen, but it's been more of like a letting go. And so this year with the podcast, as well as with my personal journey, I'm choosing presence over pressure, more curiosity over control, which is definitely the control piece. I know many of us can struggle with that, but curiosity opens the door to more abundance and grace, right? Grace over grinding, because hustle culture, I know Western culture, that's what we live by, quote unquote. That is not for me, okay? I'm choosing a new paradigm. And trust over fear. I've been on that journey for a while now, leaning into the trust. But it feels even more meaningful that this year, looking at how Greatfully You has shaped me over the last year, I could not have predicted it. It's reminded me that presence is so powerful. And even when the path ahead is still unfolding. So I want to share with you guys a gift for my birthday for the both of us. I'm sharing 2 more episodes today. It's going to be a conversation about my journey into becoming into second season, as well as guiding you through the entrance of sacred pause and what that space looks like when you're between what was and what's becoming. And then in a couple days, I'll be releasing a guided affirmation along with the blog to deepen that reflection. And both are designed to walk with you in your unfolding. So whether this is your first episode or you've been here since the beginning, I want to thank you. Thank you for allowing this space to grow alongside you and thank you for listening with such an open heart. I hope season 2 meets you where you are and walks with you towards wherever you're going. This season is an invitation to slow down, to reflect, and to remember who you really are underneath all the roles, expectations, and noise. And if something in today's episode speaks to you, feel free to share it with someone that you think is great and is on their own journey of becoming, so we can walk it out together. If you feel compelled, leave a review, and just want you to know your words and your shares and your reflections help this space grow in the most organic and meaningful way. So I welcome it. And if you're looking for a deeper support or would like me to walk with you, you can check out my offerings on greatfullyu.com. But yeah, so let's make this season the season we stop hiding and shrinking. But most importantly, that we start becoming more fully, freely, and gratefully. So with that said, be great, be full, and most importantly, be you. Happy season 2, y'all. Thank you for joining the Greatfully You podcast. To stay connected with the Greatfully You family, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And even better, invite someone that you love and that you think is great to listen in with you. And if you ever need a reminder of how great you are, grab yourself or someone you love the Greatfully You memorabilia from our website at greatfullyu.com. Until next time, friends, lots of love your way. Be great and take care.